scorned. And they're about to prove it. The AEW women's roster is like no other.
All right, guys, we soon gonna talk about AEW Women's Blood and Guts, and we're gonna talk about what WWE Women's Survivor Series WarGames needs to do this year. We're gonna talk about it because this is first time we're gonna see two women's cage matches going at it. Tune in more to the Pink Square Circle. We'll talk about it. Hey guys, we back at Pink Square Circle. We'll talk about AEW Women's Blood and Guts versus WWE WarGames. You guys tune in. Now, for the first time ever, as they said years in the making, Tony Khan has been working on to get a women's WarGames style match for the women. And they had one this year of women's called Blood and Guts that was on this most recent episode of AEW Dynamite. Now, I have to say, with the roster they had on this whole match was great. Now, we know for this whole thing, the match, we know is a double ring and double cage structure to AEW. Now, there were a lot of women in this match. I'll go over the names. The names of the women that was in this particular Blood and Guts match was Mercedes Moné, Megan Bayne, Marina Shafir, Tekla, if I said it right, Julia Hart, Sky Blue. That team went against the team of Kris Statlander, Toni Storm, Willow Nightingale, Mina Shirakiwa. You guys know I can't pronounce the name right. Jamie Hayter and Harley Cameron inside the structure. Now, we're used to seeing the men battle off at Blood and Guts, but this year was women's. Now, Moné and Kris Statlander, they got their match at, Full Gear for winner take all, as I talked about before. This whole match for the women's Blood and Guts definitely took it to the top and beyond. Women were definitely going back and forth, and it was just nonstop action. And this was a great thing. Now, we know originally there were two women in this match that was originally scheduled. They couldn't do the injury, Penelope Ford and also Queen Amita. Both of those women could not compete towards that, but it does not matter since AEW have a deep roster of the women's division. It definitely made up for that. It's like we'd even miss those women. No offense to them, great competitors. But I will say this was great because the match started off. I know Sky Blue was in there. She kicked off the whole style of the match. She kicked it off. I know she was on one side. And I think for the other women's side, which was the babyface side, I believe the second person that did start off the match, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was Mina. No, it might have been Harley Cameron. Don't quote me on it. I think it was Harley Cameron. I can't remember. But either way, all women went out. They were so creative in this match. You had women. I like the special spot where the women like Julia Hart and Sky Blue, they used a little cubby hole on the side and they crawled outside of the cage. They got the key from the referee, locked the door out, and they kept women like Jamie Hayter, Kris Statlander outside of the cage. And the heel side, that team that I mentioned, they won the match. But it was a great structure. Whoever produced this match, whoever it was for AEW, kudos to you. You did a great job. And it was a great bar they set high for the first ever women's Blood and Guts match. Now, this was not on no pay-per-view like Full Gear. It was just on a regular episode of Dynamite. I believe the show went about 2.5 hours. So they definitely did their thing. I liked everything about the match. I could say definitely brought it. Every woman brought it, and they should be proud of themselves. Now, with that being said, this was shortly, 2-3 weeks before Women's WarGames match. Meanwhile, on WWE Survivor WarGames, the women in WWE, there's no story built. Meanwhile, AEW, they've been building for Blood and Guts for weeks. WWE has just now started to build up for WWE Women's WarGames match. We do know that Charlotte Flair has opted out not to be in the Women's WarGame match due to her past rivalry with Rhea Ripley. As she stated on Friday Night Smackdown, Rhea, I don't trust you. I'm not fighting in this cage with you. And I'm not going to act like, I'm going to fight with you despite our past. So Charlotte Flair said, no, that doesn't work for me, sister. Meanwhile, we do have the team of Alexa Bliss. You do have Rhea Ripley, Io Sky. They're still trying to find the other two competitors. Whoever they find at this time in this video, it could be Bayley, Lyra. It could be, AJ Lee possibly. It could be any other women on the roster. And then, for the heel side of the whole thing, as far as WarGames go, we do have the Kabuki Warriors, the newly crowned WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. We do have the new team of Nia Jax and Lash Legend, and they're still looking for one more person. It could be Becky Lynch. It could be a surprise person, whoever it could be. I'm pretty sure wherever these teams assemble to, that'll be for Women's WarGames match. And the reason I'm saying that, because besides the little or lack thereof build up until now, they have a lot to they got to prove themselves this year, this Women's WarGames, because 2024 Women's WarGames was not good. Botchy, very uncoordinated type of style match. And I believe the producers for that particular match were a team effort. It was, I believe, TJ Wilson, I want to say Molly Holly, and Pete Williams. For you guys know, for TNA fans, Petey Williams. I know they structured the Women's WarGames match last year. Was not great at all, in my opinion. They could have done a lot better. But basically what I'm saying is they got some competition this year with AEW Women's Blood and Guts match. They really have stepped up to the plate, because I'm telling you right now, if Women's WarGames is anything like last year or even worse, we gonna start wrestling fans all around the world, they gonna start looking elsewhere and not look forward to a Women's WarGames match anymore. They're not gonna look forward to that every year. We're gonna be looking forward more towards the AEW Women's Blood and Guts match. We're going to be looking forward to that, because Tony Khan, he definitely stepped up this year for the first ever. I knew that the Blood and Guts Women's WarGames match would be solid, or Blood and Guts style match. I knew that would be decent, but I didn't think it would be this amazing the way it was structured. He had the right teams assembled together for the babyface and the heel, and I agree with the winner, because it worked so perfectly. It was like a perfect movie, a storybook ending to that, of how the whole thing was structured out. And now they do have AEW's Full Gear that's coming up soon as well, but I mean, Triple H and the rest creative team, they have to do something to make up for last year, and they definitely have to do something, because now you got AEW's Blood and Guts women's style match. That's some competition now. Because for years, we only anticipated for one women's style WarGames style match. Now we have two to look forward to. Can WWE make up for last year? Can WWE go head to head with AEW's Blood and Guts? Can WWE do even better, or even close to being just as good as AEW Blood and Guts? And I would say no. Now, this is not a tribalism thing. This is not, I hate AEW or I hate WWE. It's nothing like that. We're just calling out what it is when it comes down to wressling. And AEW definitely showed us with the Blood and Guts, that's what women's wrestling should be, in that kind of way and form. There was not many botches, nothing. I mean, the spots were perfectly done. This is not a tribalism thing. Like I said, if AEW did bad and WWE did good, I would say the same thing. But I do know that AEW, they're trying. They are putting effort, at least. They just got to be consistent with it. But WWE last year was unacceptable for 2024 WarGames match. That match was crappy. It was sloppy. You had botchy. You had the wrong people in there, which some of the people are in there, like Nia Jax. I'm not a fan of having her in there again. And that's the problem with WWE. And that's why I don't think they're going to do better than AEW Blood and Guts match, because WWE have the same women in the WarGames match as they did last year. We saw Rhea Ripley. We saw Io Sky last year. We saw Nia Jax. We saw these women already. You know, now I know that Alexa Bliss was not in WWE last year. She's still on her maternity leave. She was ready to come back. She's in it. Okay, that's okay. I mean, Lash Legend's never been in a War Games for the main roster. I don't think she ever did in NXT, if I'm not mistaken. But it's good. We do have a couple new people, or people that haven't done it in a while. Alexa Bliss, she's done it, but not in a while. I just WWE, they're not creative. They put the same people in the same match, and it's the same spot. Like I said this before, I don't want to see Io Sky with a trash can on her head flying off the top of the cage again. I don't want to see that, and that's another thing about AEW Blood and Guts match that I admire. If you guys look at the structure, there is a roof. Meanwhile, WWE, Triple H is not a fan of the roof structure. He wants the roof off for doing spots like what Io Sky doing. And I think with the roof being on top of the cage, it may seem small to a lot of you, or even just some of you, but it's a big thing to have that cage on, because it's so much more story you could do on it. Like AEW Blood and Guts, you saw the women climb up all the way to the top of the roof. They climbed up there. You can't do that with the new structure. You have to jump off the cage. You can't just climb on top of it. And they have some good spots on there. It's just so much more story you could do with having the roof on there. Now I understand there's precautions. You worry about injuries and anything else. You want safety is number one priority. We understand that, but you don't have to just always keep the cage off, because that's not how original War Games is. If you look back to NWA WCW tapes, guys, there was no roof off. The roof was on there, and I would love for Triple H and WWE to keep the roof on there, because it makes it so much better, and we love the nostalgia of the War Game style match. But you guys let me know, is WWE gonna step it up, or AEW gonna win the crown this year for best Blood and Guts War Game style match? And that's all I have for AEW Women Blood and Guts versus WWE War Games. You guys let me know what you anticipated for. Let me know if you saw Blood and Guts, or you're going to watch Women's War Games. Click the link below to the next video, guys. And of course, as always, I will see you guys later.